All right, welcome to the Coaching the Coaches course. Let me start by saying it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are or how good of coaches your staff is. If you don't hire the right people and you're not all on the same page as the staff with the same goals, the same mindset, the same everything, and like one cohesive unit, and you're not portraying the same thing to the same kids every minute of every day, then you got no chance. Okay? So again, it's not about the accolades and the, let me try to find the right word here. It's not about who you hire. It's more about why you hire them. And what do I mean? I could go off and hire, the big name coaches in the world that wanted to be on staff, and maybe he was certified in every way, shape, or form. His resume looks great. He's been coaching for 30 years, won championships, whatever. But if you don't sit down with that person and you don't feel the right way about them, meaning you don't feel that they're 100% in with everything you say as far as what you see as a philosophy for your program, you're going to have difficult times with that coach. Okay? What you're looking for is loyalty above all else. Okay? If any teacher, any person that has a passion for the game of football, who has played the game of football and works well with kids, anybody that can relate to kids, you can teach how to coach a specific position in football. But that's not what it's about. It's about teaching the kids about life, about work ethic, about toughness. There's a lot about, there's times you're going to have kids that you got to be their parent, their brother, their sister, everything. Okay? You have to make sure that the people that you put on your staff can do all those things for the kids. Okay? If they can teach and they can help mold and grow young men, they can coach any position on the field. A good coach will learn the position that they are taught to coach. And I have hired many of coaches who never played the position that they coached. Okay? So the most important thing is it has to be a good fit personality-wise. It has to be a good fit with the rest of the staff. It has to be a good fit in the school district. It has to be a good fit with the kids. This person has to be loyal. Like, there's a lot that goes into building a coaching staff. Okay? With that said, what this course is about is coaching your coaches to coach your kids the way you want them to. Okay? Just because a coach played in the NFL or somebody you want to hire played in the NFL doesn't mean they're going to coach the position the way you want the position coached. Everything has to fit together. This is the most epic of all team sports. Okay? If one piece is out of place, it all falls apart. It's like a game Jenga. Okay? That's what you're coaching. That's what you have to treat your coaching staff as. Okay? Now, am I saying you should hire a bunch of yes sirs and no sirs? Absolutely not. You need to have one, probably multiple people on the staff that behind closed doors, one-on-one or in a staff meeting, will challenge you as a coach, that will question some of the things that you do, because that's how you're going to grow as well as a head coach. Okay? But the most important thing in your staff is making sure that they understand these rules that are laid out for you in this packet that we put together. You need to make sure that they understand very clearly that coaches cannot call other coaches out in front of the football team, or any players for that matter. Okay? Those things happen behind closed doors. Okay? They cannot ever see the coaches not be on the same page with one another or with the players. Okay? If something like that happens in the middle of a practice, which it does, it's inevitable. Sometimes, things get coached incorrectly. If a coach coaches something incorrectly, let them finish out what they're doing for the day, coaching it the way they're coaching it. Pull that coach aside, or in the staff meeting that night after practice, pull them aside, say, I want it done this way, or discuss it, whatever it needs to happen. And then the next day, you go to the kids and tell them, we watched film on this and we're going to do it this way instead. And make sure that they know that there's a solidarity and a all-in belief that this is the way we are coaching this as a staff. Okay? And that's just one example. There's tons of things. And as you go through this packet, you're going to see lots of those things pop up. And I print this out and I give it to every one of my coaches. I make them sign it, agree to it, ask them if they have any questions, and give it back to me. And then, I'll give them a blank copy to keep as well. I want to make sure that this is their contract, that if they want to be a part of our staff, that, they're going to abide by these beliefs and philosophies in coaching the game of football. Okay? Like I said, loyalty is the absolute most important thing when it comes to your staff. If they are not loyal to you, it doesn't matter what they're coaching the kids, you will not be successful as a football program. That is the most important thing, is their loyalty as a staff member to the football program, to you above all else, and to the players. Okay? You want to talk about your goals, and I put an editable version of this in there as well, so you can go through and edit this in any way that you want with the Word document that I put in there. It's in the download section. So you got your goals, discipline, respect. We talk about all these things. I sit down and I go through this with every staff member individually before I hire them, and then again after I hire them, to make sure they still agree to everything and that we're all on the same page. And we go through this multiple times in the preseason as a staff as well. We make sure that all of these things, we are staying in line with all of these things. 8 means 8. You can't have staff members rolling in late. Looks bad to the kids, looks bad to anybody that else that's around, a parent, a booster member, anything. If you're supposed to be somewhere at a certain time, then be there at a certain time. Show the kids that that's the way it's done, okay? And that goes back to the things. If somebody shows up late for an interview, there are very few circumstances that I would consider acceptable for showing up late for their coaching interview. I wouldn't hire them, okay? Don't care who they are. Don't care what their last name is. Don't care where they're from. Don't care where they played, okay? There are certain things that have to be absolute musts and certainties, and you need to make sure that you abide by those things and force your staff to follow those things. Okay. Same thing with your players, pre-practice sessions. So you can read through most of this stuff. I just want to call out the main points in here. Coaching is teaching. I've found that, now, is this the case in all situations? No. But I have found that the best teachers in the building are usually the best coaches in the building. Okay. I have hired people who have never coached high school or varsity football that were great teachers, that the kids respected, that I could tell they liked, and I taught the coaches how we wanted to coach the game of football to the kids. And I've had coaches that coached positions they didn't even play, and I'm a firm believer that the best teachers, the best leaders, the best, most loyal people make the best football coaches, because that's what it's all about. It's a team game. Dress code, you need to be in the staff gear that was provided. And I always order stuff at the beginning of the season. I make sure I got enough to cover the days of the week. You got to wash them a couple times or whatever. Make sure that you're in what you're supposed to be in each day, and we have a dress plan, dress code for practice, game, everything. Okay, all those little things matter. Okay, the kids see all these little things, and the way your staff is dressed absolutely matters. Every detail matters. Relationships with parents, it's okay for the assistant coaches to communicate with the parents, but at the end of the day, they need to refer them to you. Okay, the best thing you can do for your football program at the beginning, when you're first starting out, is definitely make sure that, especially if it's a new staff member or somebody you don't know real well yet, make sure they're referring parents to you. Okay. Now, is it okay for them to fend off dumb things like, parent after practice is going crazy because, they're going to be late to pick up another kid, or they got to go, whatever, Is it okay for them to handle something like that? Absolutely. It's okay. You need to have a coach that has the role of fending off parents and people in the bleachers and whatever that are showing up to practice that could cause distractions. Kill people with kindness. That's probably the best way to go about things. Seems to have always worked for us, and I recommend you do the same. Okay, staff relationship with players. This is all pretty much, this is one of those things that you got to put it in there. But it's, if you're hiring a dude to be on your staff, pretty much common sense. Most of this stuff. On-field coaching considerations. This goes back to what I was talking about before. You just got to make sure that you're all on the same page. Okay, don't show any signs of gray area with the players ever. That is the best thing you can do for your football staff. Is make sure that you are all on the same page and there is no gray area. No second-guessing things on the film, second-guessing things on the field. Everything happens in coaches' meetings and in the film room. Okay? That's when changes get made. When you're on the field, it is coach, and coach what you went over, coach what you were, what the game plan is for the week, and don't make changes on the football field. Okay? Don't call out, your coaches, and they can't call you out. You guys need to be one unit. It just covers intensity, language, pretty simple things. I don't let my coaches wear sunglasses. I did, before I was with a head coach that was above me. I was a staff member on staff where the head coach didn't let us wear sunglasses. And there's a couple of reasons I like this rule. Number one is being able to look into a young man's eyes makes a big difference. And you can argue that all you want till you're blue in the face. You can clearly see the difference in a kid's body language and the way he handles a conversation if you have sunglasses on as opposed to when you don't have sunglasses on. Okay? You need to be able to look those young men in the eyes because you expect the same of them. The other thing is, had a coach that I respected really well prior to, and I thought was about the right things. And this is when I was an assistant coach. I saw all this happen from afar. So this was a staff member happening with the head coach, the situation I was in. And the staff member kept wearing sunglasses. And, they knew the rule was don't wear sunglasses. Well, that coach actually ended up being a poison and was absolutely not a good fit with the rest of the staff, with, the direction of the program, and wound up leaving, actually. So, there's a lot of things that can come out of little details that matter. And make sure you're noticing those things because above all else, that's your job as a head coach is to control the program, to lead it, to guide it, to make sure that it's heading in the right direction, to make sure that things are going the way that you expect. And if somebody's doing something like that and can't follow a simple rule like that, doesn't matter whether they think it's stupid or not, how loyal are they going to be to you about something that actually does matter. Okay? Again, more stuff to read through. This is just, philosophy type stuff. Characteristics of a good coach. We covered a lot of these already. You got to be vocal. Are there great coaches that are not loud and obnoxious? Absolutely, right? Bill Belichick, for one, is not a very outspoken, guy. He's just, he is respected because he knows the game of football. He knows how to win. He knows how to build a staff. He knows how to, relate to his players. But he's not a loud person. Will he say what he needs to say? Yes. But when he speaks, the players listen. And it's good to have guys like that too. You can't yell all the time. You can't, too much of anything is bad. Okay? So just make sure you got a good mix on your staff of, people that can sit down and have a real life conversation with the kids. Your intense coaches. You got to have a mix of everything. Just look through some of this stuff as we go. The common sense things, you got to attend all the practices, all the games. And if you're in a super small school and you got to figure things out, it is what it is. But you got to use your best judgment on this. You don't want part-time coaches. That's never good. The kids are expected to be there every day. The coaches need to be there every day. So even the greatest coaches in the world, if they're not around, how good are they really? So you got to make sure that you have guidelines and things in place where if they miss or if they are late or whatever, there are consequences for that, and then eventually dismissed. So to make sure you're not settling with a coach any differently than you would settle with a player. Okay, expectations are expectations. Keep them consistent across the board. I make my staff go to the certain coaches clinics, and we do staff meetings together and things outside of the realm of football in the high school. So we go places and do things like that to hang out and get to know each other as individuals as well, not just in a professional setting. So that's what I like about going to coaches clinics. You can have your professional time and staff meetings and things there and prepare for the season. And you also got downtime where you can just go to dinner, hang out, and be friends. You become family members with your staff. Because all those things make a difference. You want to be thinking, talking. You all want to be on the same page at all times. And the only way that happens is to spend time together. There's, rule number one, always be your consistent self. We discussed that. It's definitely the most important thing with staff member. This is a pretty important section of this Coaching the Coaches booklet. These things are the things you definitely want to spend the most time discussing in your interview, discussing in, when you're feeling out who you're going to hire, when you're not going to hire, when you're having discussions with your current staff about new staff. These are the things that need to be the most important things. And then we put in here the coaching staff vocabulary. I discussed this in another section, I believe. You want to make sure that your coaches are using the same language because you don't want to have this, for example, with my quarterbacks, I use certain terminology to describe their 3-step drop, and not every coach uses the same terminology. If one coach says one thing and one coach says another thing, but we both mean the same thing, but the kid hears 2 different things, that causes confusion, and confusion causes kids to play slow. Okay? It causes them to think, and the more we think, the slower we play. Okay? So make sure that you're using the same vocabulary with everything. Okay? Across the board with your staff, your players, your parents, everybody should be saying and hearing the same things. It needs to become like a belief system. And that's terminology with like football drills, and that's terminology with like life and everything. Make sure you're communicating the same means and the kids are hearing the same things over and over again. These are words that are important to us as a staff member. For the people that you're looking for, these words should be able to. Most of these words should describe most of the coaches that you hire. There are certain coaches. No coach is going to have all these things. Obviously, we're all individual people at the end of the day, but we all have the same common goal. So we have to make sure that we are, carrying the same traits. Okay, and we fill each other's voids. You have to build a staff where you fill each other's voids. And these are some of the things that those things need to entail. Okay, and lastly, we have our college clearinghouse stuff and all that, and I'll do a different course on this, but it's in here. I'll go through that completely separate. So that's it. Make sure that your coaches are loyal, great teachers, caring individuals, love the school, and love the players. Those are the most important things. I can teach, and you can too. You can teach any coach who has played the game of football that has those traits to coach any position on the field. Okay? Because if you hired the right guy, they're going to invest the time to learn to coach that position. Okay? By all means necessary in the off season, they're going to spend countless hours watching film, going to clinics, learning from whoever they need to learn from to be able to coach that position. Okay? And that's it. There's your coaching and coaching stuff.